I'm here with Molly Hunter with MyClutterSolutions.com. Thank you, Molly.
Thank you for having me.
So, if a client of mine has items they want to get rid of, how do you really help?
I take items same day. So as long as it fits in my little Honda Civic, I'll take it. And I can shove a lot in there. Everybody's always impressed.
And what do you do with it?
We take it, so I have a lot of local missions that I like to work with. They're smaller and they help the community right around them. So depending on what the item is, I know the needs of each mission. So we've got a couple missions that are community based that I can take things to. I'll take things to schools or preschools if it's crafty things. I'll take things to the SPCA or St. Francis downtown, or emergency vets is a great place too. So we take like dog crates and things like that, and blankets, towels.
Oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be needed. Yeah.
Because they just have to throw them out afterwards, so it's
Yeah,
constant. I also take things to. I just had somebody yesterday have some medical supplies, some syringes, and we're going to take them to the wildlife center. So,
Oh, cool.
so we try to match things up. I used to work with a lot of theater departments. They don't need anything right now, but if I hear of a need, I'll reach out. Or if I find something really cool that I think will look good on stage. And then the last places that I go to are Rescue Mission and Goodwill. I mean, sometimes depending on time and what the items are, it's just best to unload them quickly.
So if you pick it up, you're trying to distribute it the same day, so you don't have to take it home and deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I try. I won't say I'm good at it though, but at least it's not in your house anymore.
Yeah. And so do things need to be ready? So you can go through and they can say, well, I don't know what I want to get rid of, and you can help them a little bit with that.
Usually I do a 30-minute or an hour consult depending on how talkative we are. And we walk through and we talk about the hopes and desires for your room or your house. Usually it starts with one room or one closet, and then all of a sudden we're walking through the whole house and they say, oh, I'm going to show you my basement. And we go in the basement. So that's usually how it works. And we talk about what you really want for your space. Some people are only bothered by a little piece of it that I would never even have noticed. And that's what we focus on. And sometimes I walk in and I say, you know, I really think you'd benefit by working on this space first, because this is what you walk into every day. And this is what starts your day and your emotions for getting into the house. We talk a lot about emotions and we work really closely together. Usually only about 2 hours at a time because it is so emotional.
Yeah. On both sides.
Oh, it's
you're soaking up
I do.
the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have one client that can only last 45 minutes, and that's okay. I see it in her face. She kind of fades off or gets deer in headlights, and we just stop. I say, okay, I think we're done for today. It's a good breaking point, and I'll leave. Other people will tell me to get out. Just depends on personalities.
Are
But it's
sometimes family members involved as well in either saying, well, you know, I want to have this, or I'd like you to get rid of this?
If that happens, it doesn't happen often. But if I have a feeling like if we're working with some older generation for a downsize, and they're a little hesitant, I'll have them, or I will take a picture of it right away and text it to the family member and give them a time limit. You have 2 weeks to tell me this is where this is going, or Molly will take it. And then we find a good home for it.
Wow,
So,
that's really something.
we try.
So when you first meet a client, what questions do you ask just during the phone call, or when you even go out to see them? What are your questions?
What do you hope for your space? I think that's the biggest one. How do you live? and then I'll point things out, like this looks like a drop zone. Is this where things usually end up? Do you have homes for all the things? You know, the little saying, place for everything and everything in its place.
Right.
A lot of people don't have the places.
Right.
So I'm there to help them discover where they lean to when they're taking things around the house. Some people just don't have that capability to see it themselves. They need an outsider to come and say, oh, it looks like you know, every time I come here, you put your shoes over here. Is this where your husband drops his laundry? Let's put a laundry basket there. It's little stuff like that. A lot of people use the wrong size trash cans. So we put bigger trash cans in the kids' rooms. But as far as questions, it just flows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, we as Americans, we've got so many storage units, and even just in Roanoke, they're building more by the day. It's amazing to me. Right. And everybody's filling them up. And, you know, well, we'll get it out of the house, but that's not getting rid of it. That's just putting it out of sight.
Yes.
And paying.
And paying for it. Right.
Yeah.
So pay for me instead is what I say.
Yeah.
I'll save you money in the long run.
Yeah. And other countries don't have that problem because they don't have the space.
Right. And it's funny, I consider myself a minimalist, but my family is not. I have a husband and a daughter. My daughter is, but my husband is not. He's more hold on to things. And so you have to live with that too. You have to learn about the family dynamic. And who is the person that is most emotionally invested in this stuff and who is not. Or who says they're not, but they really are. So we talk about those little things too.
Yeah, somebody might say they absolutely are, and
and all of a sudden they're not letting go of anything.
Yeah. And
then we talk deeper about why you're not. So I try to get into the whys. Hoarding is a trauma response, and it's also a genetic predisposition. So you'll have that DNA that says this person will be a hoarder. It's from our caveman roots, and if there's a trauma, it'll spark it, and then you'll start to hold on to things. So if we can work through that, or if I can advise you to find a therapist that can help you with that, it really does work wonders. Just to know yourself, and then you can let go of things a little easier.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I can see that in my own life over time, and I have downsized twice in my life, and I'm currently downsizing my dad's estate.
That's the hard one.
And you know, we did get rid of some things previously, but I took my son through my house at one point after my husband had passed away, and I said, listen, we're going through the whole house, attic and basement, and we're going to figure out what you really want.
Yes.
And he ended up with about as much as you put in a shoebox. And I said, well, then I'm getting rid of the rest, and I surely did.
Yeah, wow.
I'm an only child and he's an only child,
too.
so
right.
I didn't want him to end up, I knew I was going to have a handful when my dad passed away, and I didn't want him to have a handful.
Exactly what my mom did.
You know, and now I've learned from another person I've met through this that said that's Swedish death cleaning.
That's right. Yes. Give it to the people that will love it.
I was in the know.
I
already did that before I was a kid.
That's right. It's a great term, great name for it. But it does get it to the right people.
Yeah.
And I have clients, and my mother has written on the bottom of things who it should go to or where it came from.
Yeah, my grandmother did the same thing. My paternal grandmother did that, and it was great. And you know, there's a few things that my dad kept because he thought he was supposed to.
Right.
And I kept the things that were important to me, but there's some things that I don't care about, and I know they're important in the family. But if I don't care about them, and my son's not going to care about them,
that's the end of it.
Doesn't make a difference. So
it's
so
got to go
somewhere else.
Right. Yeah. We were raised with guilt.
Yeah, we were. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's part of some of our problems today, because younger generations don't want the things that previous generation, felt like they had to keep from their grandparents. It's like, well, what do you do with it now? Nobody wants it.
Somebody
and
wants
they feel
it.
really badly. But somebody else can use it. It's just not going to be in your family, and they're not going to know the story behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to say is, don't worry, somebody's gonna love this.
Yeah,
They will.
absolutely.
Yeah. It'll find its home. That's what we have to keep reminding ourselves.
So, how do you know if it's going to be a good fit for a client? Can you tell pretty quickly?
Yeah, you can tell pretty quickly. Just the energy level of saying hello to somebody, you can feel it pretty well. And then they'll be a little standoffish if it's not going to work. So they know too, and that's fine. I want them to match up with the right person.
Yeah.
Because it is so personal. And I deep dive into it.
So how did you come up with this idea?
Well, my grandmother on my mother's side was a hoarder, and we didn't know it. So I called her a closet hoarder. My job as a second, third grader was to go through, after she passed away, was to go through all of her purses and pull the money from them. So
Wow.
So she had quite a bit that was just in purses in the closets.
Wow.
So that was my job. And then we had boxes and boxes across a whole city block to go to trash, and we were taking things to the Methodist church for their yard sale. The project was supposed to take 3 days, and it took 2 weeks. So that's my core memory as a 9-year-old. Yeah. So then I went to college, and I knew I wanted to help people, but I didn't know how. I took a addictions class and learned about shopaholics, and that was fascinating, and how shopaholics sometimes lean to the hoarding side and why that happens. And then ADHD is a component, and OCD is a component. So there are so many reasons, and it can be helped. And so when my daughter was in second grade, I needed a little more to do in my life. I was a stay-at-home parent, and I decided to start this, and it's worked wonderfully.
Wow.
Very rewarding.
So how do you've got a lot of relationships, so when things are going to all these different organizations, how did you develop all those relationships?
My family has been here 30 years, and we started with a church right away, and my mother was always volunteering at food banks and helping with food baskets and clothing for kids. And my father was always paying for other people's meals at restaurants if he thought that they needed a little hand up. So it's kind of always been in my core to help people. So I just meet people and find out where they are and what they need, and then I take it.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually have Panera donations in my car right now to go down to the Friendship House on Elm, because we take those I pick them up every Monday night and take them down. My daughter was working at Panera. She said, "Do you need somebody to take this?" And my mom can do it, so I've been doing it for 3 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a family affair
It
then.
really is. It's generational. We're serious about this.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add for somebody else to know about your services, or
Nothing's too big. I'm not scared. You're not the worst. I've done it all. We work a few hoarders every year. We work with a lawyer in town, and he's usually called because they're going to lose their house, or CPS is coming in. I've worked with adult services to help seniors that are having struggles in their home,
Mm-hmm.
to make it easier for them, so I can go in and help them discover what works best in their kitchen and how to make life easier for them. It's
Mhm.
all about making life easier.
Yeah.
I believe
It
in
is.
less stress. Less
Yeah.
brain power equals more happiness.
And I think a lot of times seniors can stay in their home longer
Yes.
if they are willing to give up some things or make some changes.
Yes.
I know I tend to deal more with seniors, not by on purpose. It just happened
exactly.
that way.
Right.
And they're generally downsizing. Some are just want to go to an apartment,
Mhm.
and some, need to go to something that's one level.
Yeah.
But in most cases, they don't want to give up what they have, and
Mhm.
what am I going to do with this? And then they stall selling until they're forced to,
Right.
they
And we
really
don't
have
want
to.
that. Right.
And it is a really tough situation. So
Mhm.
now I've got a resource to call you and say, hey, would you consider doing this, and
Mhm.
talk to the client.
Right, right. And we'll know, and they'll tell you, or they'll tell me to my face that they don't
Yeah.
want to work with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we can also help with seeing, like, if they need rails, how they walk. I've dealt with a lot of that too. So there are some good resources in town that can put up safety measures.
Mm-hmm.
So I can contact those people too and be there on site when that person comes, just for an extra brain.
Yeah.
I'm the extra wife to a lot of families.
You got such a great attitude.
Oh, thank you.
You really do.
Aw. It's me.
Yeah. You're kind of a lot like me in many ways that I can see. It's like
Oh,
looking in a
nice.
mirror.
Oh, nice. I love that. That's good. That means I have longevity.
Well, thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate this, and I see a lot of need for your service.